Welcome back to the Wealthy Lawyer Squad. I am so excited to be sitting here with Erica Wasserman, your financial therapist. I'm going to read your bio. It's so good. So meet Erica Wasserman, a vibrant advocate for financial empowerment and positive change. With a background in corporate leadership and a passion for guiding others, Erica brings warmth and expertise to every interaction, which I can wholeheartedly attest to. Whether through her speaking engagements, and you've had a few, can't wait to ask you about those, or one-on-one sessions, dynamic speaking engagements are innovative tools like the Let's Talk Finances cards, which we're going to talk about. I love this so much. She is committed to helping individuals navigate their financial journey with confidence and clarity. As one of only 70 certified financial therapists in the country, Erica's friendly demeanor and practical wisdom makes her a trusted resource for those seeking to transform their relationship with money, aka my favorite topic ever. So welcome. Welcome,
Thank
Erica.
you. I mean, I love talking with you. So then now that others get to like eavesdrop in on it,
I know.
is going to be fun. So thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to dive into this. So I want to know, first of all, what is a financial therapist?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. You say I'm an attorney, everybody nods their head. Okay, I know what you do. When I go out and I say, hi, I'm a financial therapist, I get what I call the puppy dog look. I get the head tilt like the, huh? It is, well, I'll back up for a second. How much of your financial decisions are made with emotion and how much are with logic? Do you know?
Like a percentage?
Yeah,
or?
give me a percentage. How much do you think is emotional? So think about it. You are pricing a client. We'll go right into the business side of this. You're pricing a client. They come in, and how much is it? Oh, I like them. Oh, they're struggling a little bit. I can give them a little discount. I'll throw this in. Or that client's going to be rough to work with. So let me, add in some extra hours. How much of it is logical? This is a will. It's going to be X. And how much of it is emotional that there's, I like this person, they can't afford me, or I want to do a favor, or the opposite. Gosh, it's going to be a hard one. Emotions at play.
Let's see. I would guess that it's more emotional than logic, maybe 70%.
Yeah, keep going.
Really?
Higher up. So with our decision making, especially with financial, 90% is emotional, 90% emotional, and 10% logical. So we have something that's so emotional, but yet we're not supposed to talk about it. I'll go with stats again. Is in a recent survey, 2,000 Americans were surveyed. 81% said they were taught not to talk about money, but they didn't know why.
Wow.
So now you have something that's so important to your decision making, your finances, your health, which we'll get to in a little bit, but you're not supposed to talk about it. So how can you get better at something if you're just keeping it inside? You can't. You struggle, and you see cycles repeat time and time again. And so what I noticed is in my journey of life is I tended to be able to talk about money. I'll give you a quick roller coaster ride. Come aboard. We're going to go for it.
All right, I'm buckling up.
Yeah, buckle up. Come on. Chugga. We're starting off, and like growing up in my house, talking about money was common. My dad and I bonded over it. Back in the day, there was one computer in the house, and we would go in and he'd be trading stocks, and I'd ask questions, and I was good at math. And I ended up getting a finance degree from the University of Florida, went and worked in consulting at IBM. Lived up to the words I've been moved, if you ever heard that acronym with IBM, 9 times in 12 years.
Oh my God.
So with that was New York City, North Carolina, New York City, got married, bought the house, right? We're going on up the roller coaster. Life's good. We move overseas, moved to Japan.
Oh, how cool.
In consulting, 2 years in Japan, had my first daughter. Beautiful experience. Moved to China then. Moved back home, got pregnant with 2 more kids. So now I had 3 kids under the age of 4, left corporate America and my marriage. Whoosh, there went that roller coaster ride, right?
Woo.
So we just talked about a lot of twists and turns in life, and everybody has their own roller coaster ride. This just happens to be mine. And keep going. In 2017, my dad passed away, who was my accountability partner. Yeah, that was a really tough one. And he was a person I would always go to. And I use this story often. especially with our college grads out here, is I called him when I got my first job offer, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm making so much money, I'm rich." I think it was like $40,000. I mean, like, oh, I was rich. I'm gonna get a BMW, and he's like, "No, you're not. Like, you're gonna ride that Honda until the wheels fall off." In which I took his advice, and I did, and it was a good decision. And so now I lost that partner, and my mom did too after 50 years of marriage. And so then we had to pivot and figure out, how do I get my mom up in her relationship with money? And I was looking around at my friends also getting divorced in that time period. And what I noticed the difference between me and them was that I had a relationship with money. And so I was able to make decisions and had opportunities. And so when I discovered financial therapy as a real thing, I went to Kansas State and got a graduate certificate in financial therapy. And then I joined the Financial Therapy Association, which in 2019 came out with the certification. I was one of the first 15, as you said. Now there's less than 100.
Wow.
Doing this field that is so needed and growing, because 90% of our decisions are emotional and 10% are logical.
That is so cool. I love that. And I love hearing examples of families who talk about money early on, because that was not my family, and I've done a lot of work around that. Or if we talked about it, it was very stressful. And money was a very scary thing. And so as a mom now to 2 little boys, I love hearing those examples of how parents talked about it and made it not a stressful thing, but an empowering thing. Or, hey, let's sit at the computer together and look at the stock market. Like, that's so cool. And I love that. And I love hearing your whole journey.
Yeah. And look, I'm still on the roller coaster ride.
We are.
Yeah, but you said something very, very important. Your relationship with money was very different than mine based on your background. And every person here has a unique relationship with money based on 3 things: your background. So you came from a house that didn't talk about money, or stressful, and or all these other things. It was an argument, etc.
Yep.
Religion plays a role.
Yep. Also, ding, ding, ding.
Okay, right? Money's greed.
Yep.
What did you hear?
Yeah, no, money is greed, the root of all evil. We aren't rich people, or it's not godly to have a lot of money.
You give a certain percent to charity, and ultimately men have decision-making powers. So a lot of women often come out without feeling confident or the ability to have confidence in money.
Yeah.
And then the third is experiences. So you have a good experience doing something, you'll do it again. You have a bad experience? Yeah, I'm not going to do that again. I use the example with the car dealership. I recently went, and they totally tried to take advantage of me. My car light's been on for longer than I should admit, but I refuse to go back to the dealership. Now, I know I'm a reasonable person. I can go to the next town over, and get it looked at. But my experience was negative, and so I'm backing away on this.
Yeah.
So the same happens with your finances. Now, you got married.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. He has a different background,
Yep.
religion potentially, and experiences.
Yeah.
So you're coming from it from different points of view, but also told not to talk about it. From your personal lives, but also from your professional lives.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
the earlier you can get comfortable talking about money and feeling the empowerment, the better off you're going to be for your health, your wealth, because you're going to enjoy the money more and make more money, and your relationships too around you.
Yeah. I would love to kind of explore the health and the wealth side of things, because in the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, and as I'm talking to law schools about what I do, I think they can see the health side, but they can't see how it relates to money necessarily. So how, in your experience, how interrelated are those things?
First 2 that came to mind. First of all, when you're stressed over money, where does it show up on your body?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, right here.
In your
right
chest.
Here. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So on my chest also. A lot of people's stomach, neck, head. So there's a physical reaction when you're stressed. Oftentimes, it's also sleepless nights. So while we're tossing and turning at night, guess what's happening? All of those thoughts keep popping in our head. This is going to be too much. I'll always be in debt. I'll always be paying on my student loan. I can never afford that vacation. All of these, by the way, I don't like always, never, all those fixed statements, but we could talk about that later. And then, so what happens? You're not having a good night's sleep. You wake up and you're irritable. You wake up and you're tired, which now is impacting your productivity.
Yep.
On average, 4 hours a week, each employee spends on finances and personal finances. So either looking at credit card statements, calling your credit card company, dealing with the homeowners, or whatever it is, or just sitting and stressing about it. So if you look at your bottom line, your relationship with money is actually impacting your bottom line.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think what happens when people go to law school and the average amount of debt that law students are coming out with is about 180,000 to 200,000. I mean, I talk to so many law students and they are just completely terrified, stressed out, scared, hopeless about debt. And it's like this big elephant in the room, whether they're in law school and they know the debt's accruing, but they don't want to look at it and they don't know how much is in there and they haven't thought it through. So they're just taking out the max and going to Starbucks every day and spending like what they think they can. Or the new lawyer or seasoned lawyer who has this debt, they don't want to think about it. They think of it as this like negative bad thing in the corner. And so they're stressed out.
But
What do you like in working with your clients, whether individual or on the corporate side, like what have you seen when it comes to debt and what kind of breakthroughs can you have with people? Because this is what probably the number one question I get.
Yeah. And do you know what I kept hearing? There was a lot of emotional words that you were using.
Yeah.
So you didn't necessarily focus on the $200,000. You focused on a lot of emotions because the money's the money, right?
Yep.
And I say, and I don't have a dollar bill on me, but like it's a noun, it's a thing. But man, we give it a lot of power. And that money, that student loan debt tends to hang over us, hence the feeling in the chest or in the shoulders. And it can hang over you for a really long time. We as a society do a very poor job of educating kids, teenagers, young adults, pick any word you want, on what student loans really mean. We say, oh, you need it, you have to have it, oh, just go get a student loan. But we're not giving them a plan to be like, okay, when you come out and you start working, this is going to, need to be repaid, and let's come up with a plan of how to do it. And how do you manage your needs, your wants, and your future savings while also paying off for your student loans? And it needs to be a combination of everything. And so when I work with clients, I build them a yes plan.
So what's that? What's a yes plan?
When I say the word diet, what do you think of? Have you been on a diet before?
Yes, I have, since having two boys. I'm not a big fan. I don't like the restriction side of it. I like more changing my lifestyle like holistically, but I have tried them. I'm not a fan of the word or the actual
Okay.
thing.
So that's how I feel with the word budget, right? It's restrictive. And often, like a diet, I don't know about you, but a few diets I've been on, I come out in the long run worse off. I eat the whole cake because I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't had cake in weeks, and you rebel. The same thing that happens
Yep.
with budgets. So when you build a yes plan, you're going to say, yes, this is what I want in life. Yes, I want to pay off my student loan in 36 months. Yes, I want to pay it off in 5 years, in 10 years, whatever it is. But you develop the yes. And so what then happens is you can start saying no to other things. And you start prioritizing what your yes is. And so if your yes is to pay off student loans, then that becomes more in focus. And why do you want to pay off your student loans? That's the other big thing.
Yeah. Rather than just, I have to do this. This is something that I must do. And if I don't do it, I'm going to die. And
Right. I want to do it because I want to buy a house. I want to do it because I want to start saving for retirement more. I want to do this before I have my children because XYZ. It's that XYZ that's actually the reason that you're going to pay off the loans. Otherwise, I have 3 teenage daughters now. Yes, I live in a sorority house.
I love it.
She didn't want to do some work the other day. And so she starts trying to bury her head in my bed. She's like, what's that animal that like, I'm like an ostrich? She's like, can't I just be an ostrich? I just want to bury my head in the sand.
Get it.
And that's what I think a lot of people feel about student loan debt or debt in general. But guess what happens? At some point, you gotta pull your head up and you have to look around. And so start building your yes plan versus digging your head in the sand, because it will be there. And our relationship with money stays with us literally to the day we die. And as you know, in estate planning, it's with us after we die.
Yep. Yeah. I totally agree that there is a huge lack of education. I mean, even when you're applying to law schools, knowing that you can apply to multiple law schools and pit them against each other to get scholarships or exploring, different grants, even in the beginning before you take out the loans, like there's so many things that can be done that unfortunately the education just isn't there.
Right.
And then when we come out with it, there's no like counselor at the law school to take your hand and be like, let's look at this together. And now here's resources for you to go formulate a plan.
Yes. Wouldn't that
That
be
doesn't
beautiful?
happen. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I know.
And
Maybe,
just having,
maybe we need another line of business.
I know, seriously, because it could help so much. And what I tell people in the squad is, and it's just like you said, money is just a piece of paper. It's just a thing. It's a neutral circumstance. When I sit in my home every day, I don't think, oh, this mortgage, this stupid mortgage. Like, oh, no, I'm like, oh, this is my home. I love it. And I took out a mortgage to buy the home.
That's not always true. So in the deck of cards, Let's Talk Finances, one of the questions is, how do you feel about your mortgage or your rent? So you must be in a good place if you're happy there. I have other people that are like, this home is killing me. And you're like, you know what? I don't feel good here. I don't feel good paying. And if that's the case, you're not in the right place. It's literally your emotions, your body. It has nothing necessarily to do with the dollar amount. But if you're looking around and you don't feel good about your environment, then how do you feel good in other places? How do you show up?
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's taking a step back and how am I thinking about this? And do I like how I'm thinking about this? Do I want to change how I think or the actual circumstance? Do I want to move? Do I want to maybe go into a new area of law where I might make more money or get a new job or get a financial advisor or just like literally open up the statement and look at it, force myself to look at it, hang it up on the wall and like make a plan.
But that makes a good point is getting advisors. And I'm not an advisor, so I'm very upfront on that.
This is not tax or legal or financial advice.
Yeah. They deal with the dollars and cents. I deal with all the other senses.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. That's so good.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't be my own lawyer. You wouldn't advise me to be my own lawyer. Right? I don't know anything about estate planning or writing a will or anything like that. Yeah, I can research it, but it's not going to be as if I went to law school.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. I work with a lot of lawyers, doctors. These are, alpha people who have been amazing and have been in school for years and years and years and are experts in their field. There's the catch. In their field. In our field, we don't cross-pollinate to say, learn how to set up your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to do payroll. How much are you willing to pay marketing? How much are you willing to pay your HR leader? We don't know these things, and we're taught not to talk about it. So I can't call you up and say, hey, Lauren, I mean, I can't now, but like, hey, Lauren.
We know.
Right. Right. Like, what is reasonable? Like, what is reasonable for an office manager? Do I need this?
Right. And you're definitely not learning that in law school. There, as far as I know, there are no courses on how to build a law firm and what you're paying in payroll and what that looks like and when do you hire and all of those things. It really is, it's so much of just like shooting into a barrel. Like you don't know what you're doing. It's really hard.
And that goes up to when do you hire?
Yeah.
So I work with clients who love to hire, right? Because it means, oh, I'm growing. That need the office right on the main street with the big flashing neon sign. Costs more money. And then I have on the other side that don't want to spend. So they're not going to put in marketing. They're going to be on a side street and they're holding back hiring, which is also holding back the practice. Believe it or not, both practices are netting the same.
Interesting.
Differently, and they're both not doing it to the best of their ability.
Interesting.
So your relationship with money is showing up in your practice. So make sure you're aware of it. And to do that, can I take a second and just do a scan?
Oh my gosh, of course.
So put your feet on the floor. Sit up and just take a deep breath and exhale. Do it again and exhale. And as you go down your journey with yourself, I'm going to make this on the shorter side, but just think about, do I feel financially well? If not, where does it show up that I don't feel that way? Where on your body? Go ahead and put your hand on there. want you to think about for a minute what's something you do to increase your financial awareness. Maybe it's opening up your bills on time. Maybe it's setting up a playlist of music that you play every time you create a contract or send out an invoicing. I want you to think, are you a wealthy woman? I'll say a wealthy woman. How do you define wealth? Are you worthy of the money that you make? Take a deep breath in. And then say to yourself, I am a worthy woman. I'm a worthy man. I am wealthy. I am wealthy. And then when you open your eyes, when I mentioned wealthy, what were the images that came up?
For me, wealth is very freedom based. So it's traveling with my family, it's driving the car I want, it's eating at the places I want with no stress, it's building a business that I love. It's very much like choice and freedom. That's for me, like, that's how I define wealth.
It's interesting because, and I'd love to get comments back on this from your listeners as well, is rarely is wealth $5 million. So we're always chasing this dollar amount, but really we're looking to live wealthy lives. And when we just talked about what a wealthy life is, it's time with your family, it's meals with your friends, it's being comfortable, it's freedom to make choices and all of these other things. It generally doesn't have a dollar amount, which means you could do it at different levels. The earlier you decide that you're wealthy, the more that I've seen, the more wealth comes to you because you're appreciative of how they show up.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a lens. It's a lens of how you, in my opinion, view the world, and then the decisions that you make from that lens.
Absolutely.
That's been my experience. And it's interesting because much like law school and then your lawyer career, as I've moved through my career at different phases, different things with money, and I've had to do different work. I first started really like learning about money and money mindset when I went into the big firm, because all of a sudden I had this incredible salary that was more money than I would have ever imagined making.
You're dancing on the table, like
amazing.
Yes.
Like literally, I remember like the night I got the offer, I ran around the neighborhood and they actually had lowballed me, but I was still like, I'm going to get my foot in the door and I'm going to get it up. And I did. I got like a huge, I got a huge raise my first year because I was like, you guys better pay me or I'm going to leave.
By the way, good job for asking.
Oh, thank you. But I remember like running around like a celebration. But I knew that if I didn't do work, I was just going to either spend it. Either one of two things was going to happen. I was just going to completely spend it, or I was just going to hold on to it too tightly and not let it work for me. So that's when I really started reading about personal finance. I was like, I need to understand this money so I don't fall into the trap that I see almost everyone around me making in the law. And I did the work and I got really good at that work. And not that the work is ever done, but I felt really comfortable. And then I continued to make more and more and more. And we started buying real estate and all these things. And our stock portfolio was growing. And then I left that firm and I started my own firm. And I had to do the work, not all over again. Like, thank God the foundation is there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a whole new set of fears and thoughts. And even before I started the firm, like, I have a therapist and we used to meet every week. Now it's like every other week. I'm like, oh, I don't need you every week anymore. Thank goodness. But am I worthy to start a firm? Like, my loop in my head was, who the heck am I to start a law firm? Who the heck am I to start a law firm? So like literally like months, if not years of working through that. And then actually starting the firm, it was like a whole new set of things. So it's not like the work is ever done, but I love that exercise. Like just that exercise alone is so impactful and meaningful, because like when you do that with people, how many times is that the first time that they've ever even like thought about that stuff?
First time. It's while you were just describing that, I kept looking at different mountains, right? And so I compare your relationship with money, or most people's relationship with money, to running. I hate running. Like, I wish I liked it. I'm not good at it. You know, yes, I can do it, right? Yes, you can open a bill. Like, you know, like we all can do these things, but like we do what we like. And during COVID, I tried to run and I got to the end of the block. My head was down. I was like, this sucks. And there goes a gazelle. This woman, she was so beautifully dressed in her visor and her little AirPod and her matching outfit, just gliding, you know, down the street. And I was like, this is how people feel about talking about money, right? This is something that we haven't done. You have to put the work in. And so I turned my head and I went down and around the block. And you know what I realized? I'm never going to run a marathon. You know, that's not for me. But you know what I did with training and coaching is I did a 60-mile walk, right? I did the cancer walk for over 3 days, 20 miles each day.
Wow.
And
That's so cool.
It was amazing.
Really cool.
But that was my training and my coaching. And then once I did that, I'm like, oh, maybe I could do something more. That's the same with your relationship with money. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, wow, like I have nowhere to start, or I have such a poor mindset, or I have financial trauma that I've been through. Yeah. But just like with running, you're going to sprain your ankle at some point. You're going to get a skin knee. It's going to rain. I mean, you're going to have to go to the bathroom. Like all of this stuff's just going to happen.
All the things.
Right? The same is going to happen with your relationship with money. And those that get up and keep going every day and keep getting better at it are the ones that are going to succeed. And so that I would like to share with your readers or your listeners is, you know, just think about this as a new hobby, a new sport that you're just learning and growing at.
I love that. Just that one little shift. It makes it so much more palatable if you're really scared to start this journey. Because I don't want to say you have to start. I don't like absolutes either, but I've just seen it so much. We were chatting before we started recording. I've seen it so much. I got to literally within one of the biggest firms in America with some of the highest earning partners in that firm, and they still didn't feel wealthy.
Oh yeah.
I've mentioned this on the show numbers of times, but one of my biggest aha moments was I was chatting with a partner, and he was complaining that another partner had retired early. And he was like, that must be nice. I wish I could do that. And I just remember thinking like, but couldn't you? I mean, you've been here how many years and you've earned how much money? Like, is it that you really can't? Maybe, I don't know. Or is it that you just don't think you can? Like that just isn't even a reality in your world. And it was like this big shift where I was like, wow, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the dollar amount at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel that way. It's the emotions and the way that you view it. And it's just one of those moments in my life where I'm like, thank you for that moment, universe, because it allowed me to like release a lot of stuff.
It's interesting. I'm working with a client now, also a financial guy, and he is going to retire early. And he's worried about the judgment around him by doing it.
Wow.
But they were frugal couple, growing up together, and they decided that they wanted to enjoy life and that they were willing to make some sacrifices. But now that he's about to put his 2 weeks notice in, they're really nervous about the fallout from it and the judgment.
How like far along in the career is he?
I'd say mid-40s.
So very young. So there will be a lot of people who are going to be
right, but everybody's wealth is different, right? So for somebody $1 million is wealthy, right? And other people, $1 million, I could never retire on that. Back to your boss, right? So it's all personal. I think that's what this goes back to, is your personal relationship and not to judge what you see on the outside. And I'll leave you with this. Do you know the difference between rich and wealthy?
Does it have to do with the way that you feel or look at it?
Yes. So this from the psychology of money is rich is what you see on the outside, right? So your partner,
especially here in South Florida,
but also in the law firms too, right? The designer handbags and the designer earrings, anything like that, right? Is when we're seeing the fancy vacations on Instagram. That's rich. wealth is done behind the scenes. And so will never know somebody's wealth. And it kind of goes back to that work we just did, because wealth is personal and so much more than just a dollar amount.
Yeah. I always think back when I talk about things like that to The Millionaire Next Door and like all the iterations of that book. And it's so funny. Like you hear about like the teacher and, you know,
that retires with like $5 million.
Plumber. And then over the years, I've done estate plans for many attorneys, experienced attorneys. And I look at what they had when you talk about true wealth. And it's like, at one point I was looking at one estate plan, obviously no names, of course, but like I had more money and I was a second year attorney. I was like, how can that be? It was another aha moment. Or
lifestyle creep.
Lifestyle creep. That was literally my last episode before you got here. Lifestyle creep
is real.
Is real. It is so real. I saw it from day one practicing law. And then when I went to the big firm, I was like, people were just buying $1.5 million houses and Uber eating their Starbucks every day. And nothing wrong. I love nice things. I love nice homes. Like, it's not that those things are bad, but if you're not planning and you're not at what expense, like, are those golden handcuffs just going to be there forever?
Goes back to your yes plan. What are you saying yes to?
Love it.
And when you start saying yes to the things you really want,
so good.
The other stuff starts flushing out.
It's so good. Okay, before we wrap up, can we do a couple cards from your Let's Talk Finances? This is so cool. This is the couples edition, available on Amazon. I'm so excited to dive into this with my hubby because he thinks that he knows I'm not crazy anymore. But a few years ago, I was telling you, I was like, we need to talk about money all the time. And he's like, okay. And now it's just kind of part of.
Again, it's like running, right? You get used to it and the conversations get easier because you're more comfortable together. So don't wait for the big moments to have these conversations because they tend to you're not going to run a marathon the first day is my point.
No,
it's true. Start small. Start with a walk around the block. And by the way, having these conversations driving with your partner is good also because you're shoulder to shoulder.
You're
so not that eye contact, you know, you might little space.
And I have to say, before I dive into a couple cards, because we started doing that work before I started a law firm and took a significant pay cut, we were already in, not that it wasn't hard and there weren't hard conversations, but he was very like, you got this, it's okay. Because we had already started to build that foundation. Not that it's always perfect, but it helped a lot to kind of ride that first year of being a business owner,
that roller coaster ride.
Like, really, you're going to give up that salary? I'm like, yes, because I know I'm going to make more and I'm going to build a life that I love and help clients that I love in the way that I want. Okay, let's pull a couple cards. I love this. This is genius. Like, this is such a good idea.
The idea came at a bar, like all good ideas.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's read one and see what it says.
Okay.
All right. How did your family discuss money, if at all? How would you change, or how have you changed that in your own family? Okay, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one because, I mean, we've touched on it already a little bit, but knowing your money story and where those beliefs are coming from is everything. And I didn't know what a money story was until I started doing the work. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that we could change that or we could think about those things. I thought it just was what it was.
Yeah.
Like, it was
so
like a
what
finite
are you going
thing.
to change? So now you have children.
Yeah.
What are you going to change for your boys?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, I'm so hyper conscious of how I talk about money with them and how we're planning a cruise to Alaska right now with the whole family. And, you know, the topic of money is coming up with the various family members and my husband. And I'm very conscious to always say, okay, here's the price of the excursion. Like, I think the value is definitely worth this. And I think it's great. And how can we afford it? You know, not, I don't think we can afford it, or that's too expensive, or, ooh, that's not for us. I try to be very aware of the words that I use around money, and I don't shy away from talking about it. And as they grow, kind of like we did like a couples, I was telling you before we were recording, we did a couples retreat, that mastermind that partially dealt with money. I want to do that with our family. Like, I want to have like regular discussions around money. They don't need to know everything when they're little, but bringing it into the conversation and normalizing.
Well, that's it. When it's in the conversation. So I have a client who was planning a trip to Ireland, and the kids were probably like 7 and 9 at the time. And they had a picture of Ireland. And every time they put toys back at Target or stayed in for dinner instead of going out or ordering, McDonald's as a drive-through and you're in a rush, or you can go home and have sandwiches, she would move that money from the savings, the checking account, into their Ireland trip fund. And then the kids would come home and color in that $5 or $10 that they saved.
So good.
Right. So now
That's
you're
so
getting the
good.
kids involved, and by the time, and visual and all, this is what I work with people on, right? Like you need all the senses. And by the time they got to Ireland, the kids had the kids had a role in it. They were excited about their trip and they knew they contributed to it. So
I freaking love that. Like getting them involved, getting them aware, and seeing the positive side of it, and the giving up things with a positive.
yeah. But by the way, you could do that with anything. If you're saving for a house, if you're saving for a new office space or hiring, I was just working with somebody who was hiring was hiring an office manager and needed like $100,000 for it. Okay, great. How long is that going to take you to get to? She's like, well, let me get back to you on that. Right? Let's color that in. Let's really see the progress of it so that way you can get the help you need.
So good. That's such a good I love that. I'm definitely going to implement that for sure with the boys. Okay, let's do one more. Do you believe you are worthy of the money you earn? I mean, I think this one for lawyers, myself included, I had to do a lot of work when I started making money. Like, am I worthy? If I start to make $400,000 a year, does that mean that I have to be like the best in the whole world and better even? Like, that's what I believed. In order for me to be worthy, I had to outwork everybody and outbill everybody. And I had to prove. And I'm not talking about doing a good job and, having like your skill set, but I thought that I would have to be the best. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, that was a big thing for me.
Wow, the pressure you put on yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the reasons I'm like, I have to do the work. I have to do the work or it's just going to eat me alive.
When I work with entrepreneurs on this, it's very polarized, the answer that I get, but also the people who've done the work on one end, right? Like, heck yeah. But oftentimes not knowing what to charge. And, well, I'm not worthy of $400 an hour, or I'm not worthy of, really, I'm going to give that guy, again, emotions. I'll give that guy a discount because what if,
Ooh, I have a question for you, actually.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't even know if I should talk about this on here, but whatever, I'm going to. So we had a situation recently with a referral partner. We did some work, and after the fact on one of the items beforehand was asked to give a massive discount.
And was agreed to.
We didn't ask. They asked us. We begrudgingly agreed, did not feel good about it. We did one more item of work, and after the fact, after it was done, was again asked for a massive discount. I said yes in the moment. And it was, I feel not good about it at all.
Here we go. Emotions
I
with
feel
money.
very upset about it.
Emotions with money. They asked, you said yes.
Uh-huh. And so I said to my law partner earlier, I said, okay, moving on from that, whatever. How do I want to react in the future? In that moment, how do I want to react? Who do I want to embody when I get asked that question again? And it's uncomfortable.
But you will get asked that question again. I see that often with my clients that are attorneys, is the billable hours, the retainers, all of these things, people not paying on time, right? So you are having financial conversations often. And again, they don't teach us in school.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're having it, especially in trust and estates, every day, all day, but especially when it comes to our fees.
Yes. And you need to practice. Go grab a friend. Run some scenarios. Maybe that's something you do in the circle, is have those conversations, because that conversation will come up again.
Yes. And I was very ill prepared for
correct.
it. And it's fine moving on. But now in the future,
no more discounts.
Oh, no. I'm like, I was so mad. I was so mad.
Who are you mad at?
I was mad at myself, but I was also mad, especially because this was a man. And I don't know that if he would have asked another man for a discount. I felt very taken advantage of and just not valued.
Oh, how'd that feel?
I mean, shitty. Very shitty.
How would you redo that?
I think I just should have said, nope, nope, I don't feel aligned with that choice or something like that. But I have to practice it because even now I'm getting like,
Yeah. And I was just working with a funny enough, an attorney client on this one. It was, I have an emergency. Well, do you charge a fee for emergencies?
oh, and this was also an emergency that he asked me to handle.
Oh, then sorry, I don't do discounts on quick turnarounds. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
You know, if we have 3 months to work on this, sure, I can do that because I can fill it in, give it to a junior, whatever, whatever you need. But emergency work, we have a policy of, no discounts. In fact, we normally charge a surcharge, but I'll let that go. Right.
I love it. See, the work is never done.
Never done. Because
Never done.
situations always show up. And I think that's the important part is and also find your people is to run those scenarios with. So if you're going out on your own or you're just graduating and like call up a couple of friends and say, what would you do? Or how would you answer this? Let's make these conversations normal because that just happened to you. But somebody else who's listening to this, it's going to happen to them. And they're going to be like, oh, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they're going to get lowballed with a salary. And maybe like I did, I decided it was worth taking because I wanted to get my foot in the door. But maybe you pause and maybe you collect your thoughts and say, I'll come back to you. Or you have something prepared because you know they might do that. It happens all the time in the law.
Yeah.
All the time.
Always negotiate a salary.
Yeah. I love it. Get a buddy or buddies and start practicing these conversations. Or better yet, in the squad, let's start practicing these conversations.
100%. But you also mentioned men and women. We think differently. I mean, the whole thing, whatever. And there's a whole how wow thing that I have going on also. But like, just people react differently. So grabbing your bestie isn't always the best one. Is grab a mix of people because you're gonna want to get different responses, and that's what's really gonna prepare you. I call them my board of directors, right? You need people. We all need people. I'm glad you're one of my people.
Oh, likewise. Okay, this was amazing. Amazing. Could chat forever. Where can everyone find out more about you? Where can they find, like, I know you did a speaking engagement. Where can people see you, your website, all the things we want to know?
Yes. So you can find me at yourfinancialtherapist.com is my website. Instagram is at Your Financial Therapist. And the Let's Talk Finances cards are available on Amazon.
I love it. Who are you going to be featured on? Are you able to say from today?
Oh, yeah. So today I was just in U.S. News and Report on an article, believe it or not, on if you should ask money questions on a first date.
So good. I love it. You're a big deal.
Thank you.
You're a big deal.
Progress, baby. In progress, like all of us.
I love it.
Thank
you so much for coming on. This was amazing.
I love it.
We'll see you all soon, squad. Thank you.